What's up, guys? Kyle McGee here with Kyle Recaps, my pay-per-view and special events recap series. So, during the Dynamite live stream last night, I said that I would be here on Monday for the Elimination Chamber recap, which is true, but surprise, we're here with another one. So, NXT 2.0 Vengeance Day was on Tuesday on Sci-Fi. We saw some big matches on this one, some blow-offs, and building towards what's next on NXT. So let's break down all the action about NXT 2.0 Vengeance Day. So we kicked off the card, with a weaponized steel cage match as Tony D'Angelo took on Pete Dunne. This feud kind of started during the build for War Games, and it's been growing and growing ever since, so this was the payoff. Weaponized steel cage. Tony D'Angelo shows up to the arena after Pete Dunne's made his entrance, and he has someone driving him in. He comes in, and the match starts off immediately just chaotic. Within about 30 seconds, Pete Dunne breaks a chair over Tony D'Angelo's back, goes for a trash can. Tony D'Angelo counters him, starts fighting him off. They climb the cage, suplex off of the cage, a Falcon's arrow through the trash can. You've got Tony D'Angelo spraying him with a fire extinguisher, a kendo stick shot, and then Pete Dunne gets handcuffed, so to speak, with zip ties by Tony D'Angelo, and we're like 3 minutes in at this point. Like, it was just all-out chaos. It continued from there. Some fun action back and forth. They've got a table set up in the corner. Pete Dunne continuing to fight back even though his arms are tied behind his back, eventually catches and counters Tony D'Angelo and uses the zip ties behind his back to lock in a guillotine chokehold that D'Angelo cannot get out of because he can't pry the hands loose because they're tied behind his back. So Tony D'Angelo, in a moment of desperation, grabs some pliers, cuts Pete Dunne's hands free just so he can get himself free. They continue fighting. Pete Dunne power bombs him through the table in the corner. Some more back and forth. Bitter ending from Pete Dunne and a kick out. Tony D'Angelo with the forget about it, the sleeping with the fisherman suplex, whatever you want to call it. Kick out from him, from Pete Dunne. D'Angelo is deciding enough's enough. He picks up the crowbar, goes to hit him with it as Pete Dunne is sneaking his way towards the cage door, and surprise, he's hitting a crowbar of his own as Tony D'Angelo goes to swing, a big swing and a miss. Pete Dunne ducks down, drills him in the gut, hits him with a bitter ending onto the broken piece of table that's on the mat for the 3 count at 9 minutes and 52 seconds. So, weaponized steel cage match, and it was sub 10 minutes. It was just go, 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 go with these guys. It was okay. I've definitely seen better steel cage matches. I've even seen better hardcore, I guess you would call them, steel cage matches. I'm going to give this a B. It was a hot open for sure, and the crowd was really into it. But again, we've definitely seen better. So then we get a little backstage segment to hype up the women's Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic, which is coming up, and I guess it's not a backstage, it's more of a pre-tape, but it's Cora Jade and Raquel Gonzalez, and Raquel is calling her at 5 in the morning to set up their training, and it's just really cheesy and goofy. There's some bad acting in it, but it was fun. Good way to set them up as a team to look out for in this. Then we have some Dusty Classic finals hype for tonight, as we're going to see MSK taking on the Creed brothers later in the show, and it's interesting to see the contrast in styles. Creed brothers are taking this very seriously. So is Malcolm Bivens, whereas, MSK, their gimmick, they're kind of Riddle's proteges. So they're just kind of clowning around the entire time. So it's nice contrast in styles on the promos. And then after that, we have Toxic Attraction defending the NXT Women's Tag Team Championships against Indy Hartwell and Persia Pirotta. They're accompanied by Mandy Rose, who is very quickly thrown out due to interference. Toxic Attraction, before the match can even get going, attacks Indy and Persia when they get in the ring during their entrance. Both do sentons to the outside onto them. Take control early over Indy Hartwell. Like I mentioned, Mandy ends up getting thrown out for interference. We go to commercial break. There's some picture-in-picture wrestling. We come back. Persia Pirotta comes in, starts getting some power moves. Indy Hartwell ends up coming in And then Persia gets taken out by being thrown into steel steps. Indy goes for a top rope move, but JC Jane grabs the rope to trip her. They hit the high-low and they win. There really wasn't anything special about this match. It didn't feel like they cared too much for it. It only went 7 minutes, 54 seconds. Indy Hartwell feels like she's kind of being made out to be the weak link of this tag team, and they are building a story for that, which we will get to later in the night. But yeah, I'll give it a C-. Definitely wasn't that great. There was a lot better on the card. I think for me, this was easily the weakest match of the night. It felt like it got the least amount of care out of all the matches on the card, personally. Up next, we had Wendy Chu and Amari Miller talking about the Dusty Classic together backstage. Amari tells her, sorry, I've already found a tag team partner. Wendy Chu tells her, oh, it's no problem, but then gets very upset, sees Dakota Kai talking to herself for some imaginary friend. She asks her to be her tag team partner. Then we see Dakota Kai continuing to talk to whoever she thinks she's talking to, and Wendy Chu just kind of leaves her. And then Grayson Waller brings cops into the arena to arrest LA Knight. Maybe you all heard Penny. Brings him in to arrest LA Knight, so we'll get to that in a minute. And then we get an NXT Level Up commercial. When we come back, we have a segment where it's Briggs and Jensen in a bar, and they're talking about Jensen's Valentine's Day date. And it just kind of puts over how dumb he is. He doesn't understand what her saying, you're like a brother to me, is, until the waitress tells him, or the bartender tells him, that, yeah, no, you just kind of got friend-zoned. It was kind of silly. And like I said, just kind of made Jensen look really dumb. Then we have LA Knight comes out. He gets interrupted by Grayson Waller. Grayson Waller's going to have the cops arrest him. He shows the footage of LA Knight breaking the restraining order. The cops go to arrest him. LA Knight tells them to hold on, pulls out page 2 of the restraining order, which shows that, yes, I'm not allowed to touch Grayson Waller, but Grayson's not allowed to touch me. Roll the footage. 2 weeks ago, oh, wouldn't you know it, Grayson dove over the barricade and hit him with a cutter, or a stunner, I should say. So, cops do nothing. They leave. LA Knight beats down Grayson for a little bit, sees the guard coming out, and he kind of telegraphs it because he keeps doing this throughout. Then he finally does come out. He throws Grayson Waller up into him and then challenges him to a match next week. I'll give it a B-. It was cheesy, it was goofy, we've seen it before, but it was effective. LA Knight is a fantastic talker, a fantastic worker, and I'm surprised they haven't already called him up to the main roster and tried to do something with him, because he seems like a guy tailor-made for the WWE main roster. Then after this, what I said we were going to talk about, Persia Pirotta and Indy Hartwell are backstage. Persia's trying to give her a pep talk, talking about how, hey, we got the Dusty Tag Team Classic, it's going to be fine. Then Dexter shows up. Indy's all excited, and, Persia just, oh, hi, Dexter. Indy says, all right, well, I'll see you later, sorry. Persia seems annoyed. Duke Hudson shows up, and we're teasing the dissension between the two of them. And then Persia leaves with Duke Hudson while giving kind of a weird little smile, like a sly smile towards the direction that Dexter and Indy walked off into. So they're definitely building the dissension between these two, and there's probably going to be a blow-off at some point, because it's a tag team, so of course we've got to break them up. Then we've got Tommaso Ciampa backstage interview. He's talking about Dolph Ziggler and how Dolph Ziggler mistakes his loyalty to NXT for fear. He's calling him out. He's talking about the main event tonight, says he'll be watching. Very good backstage interview. I love the passion that Tommaso Ciampa has for NXT. And the Ziggler feud has actually been entertaining, I'm not going to lie. It's been different. But up next, we have Carmelo Hayes defending the North American Championship against Cameron Grimes. The A champion, as he calls himself, with Trick Williams against Cameron Grimes. This was a fantastic match. It started off really slow, them just kind of doing classic technical wrestling, trading holds, some clotheslines, duck down, stuff like that. Go to commercial break, and as we're going to commercial break, he being pronouns pal, Carmelo has Cameron Grimes kind of hung up on the ropes and does a fadeaway leg drop. We cut to commercial. We have picture-in-picture, come back from the break, and the action slowly but surely starts to pick up. Trick Williams starts interfering during the break. He lands a huge right hand when the referee's back's turned onto Cameron Grimes. The action starts to build. These two start trading some bigger moves. Cameron Grimes hits this huge, almost like he starts off like a power slam, then turns it into like a black hole slam / a side effect. It was really good. Reverse Rana, some dives to the outside. These two are just going at it, and it's really good. It turns into a high-paced match. After this really slow start, it builds momentum the more it goes on, and easily to me was the best match of the night. Second to the Dusty Rhodes, sorry, not second, followed closely by the Dusty Rhodes Classic Finals matchup. We get a moment where it looks like Cameron Grimes is going to get it done, but then Carmelo rolls out of the ring. He dives out for Carmelo, but Carmelo steps out of the way, and Trick Williams takes the diving stomp for him. Carmelo grabs him and just throws Cameron Grimes headfirst into the barricade, and it looked kind of nasty. He looks at the title, tells the North American Championship, "I'll never lose you." They go back in the ring. A little bit of a back and forth, and then top rope leg drop to the back of the neck seals the deal. Your winner and still North American champion, Carmelo Hayes. This match went, let me look at my notes. Goodness, this thing went back 15 minutes, 57 seconds. Like I said, a slow and technical start, but then it builds momentum the more it goes on. I highly recommend watching this. I give this match an A. It's my match of the night, and I hope that WWE realizes what it has with these two. I've yet to see these two have a bad match in NXT 2.0, and Carmelo Hayes just seems to have the it factor. I don't know what it is about him, but the guy has got it, and I hope that the WWE sees this and capitalizes on it. Cameron Grimes could be a solid, mid-card worker for them on the main card. Probably not necessarily a top talent guy for them, but he's got serious, upper mid-card potential. I hope WWE takes advantage of these two guys, because my lord, can they do some serious work both in character, charisma, and especially in ring. Loved this match. Cannot put it over enough. I highly recommend you go watch it on the WWE Network. After this, it's MSK versus the Creed Brothers, Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic Final. MSK comes out to kind of a remix. They have the DJ out there, and they remix the Dusty Rhodes theme a bit. I thought that was pretty cool. They're kind of revitalized as a tag team ever since the Riddle thing, but then you got the Creed Brothers. This was, as the commentary team so elegantly put it, ground and pound versus hit and run. We start off, and the Creed Brothers are really using their amateur wrestling background and kind of controlling things. MSK starts, speeding things up, landing some quick strikes. As we're about to go to break, it is Wesley on the apron, and Julius Creed just runs at him and shoulder tackles him really hard off the apron onto the broadcast table. It doesn't break, but he bounces off it like no other. We come back. Some really cool spots happen in this match. Like I said, there's just nonstop power moves and amateur wrestling moves from the Creed Brothers. Then you have a spot where Nash, I think it was Nash Matthews that did it, tells Wesley, "Push me," and he does a shooting star in the air, but gets shoved by Wesley onto one of the Creed Brothers. Really cool spots here, like I said. They go to the outside. Some back and forth happens, and then Julius Creed ends up just landing this huge takedown on Nash. Just a huge double leg takedown where it almost looks like he spikes himself on his head. Throws him into the ring. Hits this nasty looking clothesline while Nash is sitting up. 1, 2, 3. The Creed Brothers are your winner and the winners of the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic 2022 here at Vengeance Day. I gave this match also an A. It ended in 9 minutes, 36 seconds. Both these teams did absolutely phenomenal work in the sub 10 minutes they were given. These were easily the two best matches back-to-back of the night. No doubt about it. If you're only going to watch one or two matches from this show, watch those two matches. Steel cage match was okay, but it felt a little bit like they had an over-reliance on weapons. The women's tag team match, again, nothing special. It felt kind of like an afterthought. In the main event, Braun Breaker versus Santos Escobar, which I'll get to in a little bit, wasn't the best match of the night by far. So after this, we have a Nikita Lyons hype package. She's going to be here next week. Then we cut to Imperium in the ring, and the crowd's chanting Walter after She introduces him as Gunter, and he pronounces her 9. It's Gunter. And, they're kind of talking about the Creed brothers winning and how it doesn't matter because they're going to take care of them. How nobody can handle Imperium in the NXT. Gunther goes to talk about winning the NXT Championship. Solo Sikoa interrupts and comes out and says that, he's after Walter. He's going to step in the mat. He doesn't respect the mat the way that Walter does. Gunther does. He's going to step in the ring. He's going to smack him across the face and make him his bitch. And then he leaves. So we're setting up a feud between them going forward. Should be fun feud. Good little segment there, and a good way to get it going. Then we have a backstage interview with Dolph Ziggler, where he's kind of running down Tommaso Ciampa, talking about how he came to Raw. I'm sure he had to pay for it on his own. I'm sure he sat middle class, probably in the very back of the plane, probably could barely afford it. He's talking about how he got himself, probably made some 8x10s for himself that he can sell, make some money, but he's only going to do it here in Orlando. Because that's all he does. He does a great job in NXT, but that's all he is. He's the pulse of NXT, and says next week he's going to stop the pulse of NXT 2.0. Great backstage interview by Dolph Ziggler here. I feel like the more I see of Dolph in a situation like this, it makes me realize even more how much WWE has dropped the ball with him over the years when it comes down to booking him as a main event talent. This is a main event talent through and through. And for some reason, it just never worked out. Hopefully, this NXT run is a nice refresher for him and he gets a chance to shine. But I absolutely love this. I'll give this backstage interview an A+. I think it, non-matches, best part of the show by far. Maybe even including the matches. But probably not. I think the North American Championship match was the best actual part of the night. But for a promo, I'm giving this an A+. I thought it was perfect. It was short, sweet, to the point, and he just sold it beautifully. So we got to Santos Escobar's entrance. He's paying a nice little tribute to Eddie Guerrero because it was 18 years to the day that Eddie Guerrero became the WWE champion by defeating Brock Lesnar. He's got a nice Eddie Guerrero looking tights going. Cut to commercial, and when we come back, Pete Dunne and Carmelo Hayes have a brief little interaction backstage, setting up the next North American Championship feud. And now it's time for our main event, Santos Escobar versus Braun Breaker for the NXT Championship. Braun Breaker gets another cool entrance, the V for the Vengeance Day, and it's on fire, and then he comes out. And this is his first title defense, is what they were saying. So it was an okay match. Braun Breaker starts off early, just controlling things. Santos Escobar cannot get anything going, no matter what he does. Then some distractions, and he hands a clubbing forearm to the back of the head while Braun's on the outside, and then does a diving headbutt and just drills, through the ropes, diving headbutt, and drills Breaker in the face with it, rolls him in the ring, and then he kind of takes over for a little while. Pretty slow-paced, not a whole lot of exciting things happen until close to the very end, when there's non-stop distractions from the outside, and the referee's trying to deal with that. When Dolph Ziggler runs in and lands a huge super kick on Braun Breaker, Santos Escobar goes for the pin. 1, 2, he kicks out. Dolph Ziggler goes ballistic at ringside. Decides enough's enough. I've got to get in there. I've got to stop it. He clearly doesn't want Braun Breaker to win. As he goes to go in, Champa pulls him in and pulls him out, beats him up. They fight to the backstage area, brings some energy to the match, and then Braun Breaker and Santos Escobar get back to it. Santos starts talking trash, and then Breaker just takes over, absolutely fights back, hits a huge spear, and then finally ends up lifting him up in the military press, and then power slams him. 1, 2, 3. Braun Breaker retains in 12 minutes, 5 seconds. I'll give it a C+. Had it not been for how high energy the ending was, this might have been the worst match of the night, but the ending kind of brought it back up a little bit. It was an okay match. I've definitely seen way better from both of these guys. Breaker's matches with Champa were much better than this, and Santos has had amazing matches throughout his NXT run. So it was an okay ending. Like I said, the two best matches of the night by far were the Tag Team Classic and the North American Championship match. But then we get some announcements for what's coming next week. So next week on NXT, we are going to be seeing the Women's Dusty Cup. We're going to see LA Knight versus Grayson Waller and Champa versus Ziggler. So next week's NXT is looking pretty good. Overall, this was a pretty decent show. I'm going to give it a B. Yeah, I'm going to give it a B. You had two phenomenal matches. You had a pretty okay, decent steel cage match. If you've seen a gimmick match before, this wasn't really that special. I saw a lot of people calling it brutal. I don't know that I'd call it that. It was more chaotic to me. The women's match which was forgettable, and the NXT Championship match was just kind of okay. But it was a decent show, so I'll give it a B. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Check it out if you haven't. Let me know what you think. Do you agree with my thoughts? What was your match of the night? And are you looking forward to Elimination Chamber? I hope so. We'll be watching it this Saturday on a live stream. Drew Blazer and Biggs will be doing that, and then I will be doing my recap of the Elimination Chamber event on Monday, so make sure you guys tune in for that, and I will see you next time. See ya!